Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing today? Tarusha, how are you?
Good.
Good. Tarusha, Ovini, and Ovini and Ovi to another room. Huh? Set and Varsha. Okay, so we'll come back to.
I'm good.
Great. Welcome back to another lesson. I think today's lesson is going to be on the last final perfection, paramita. And I hope. Okay. I hope it's going to be a topic that where we're going to summarize all our previous perfections just to get a sense of what we've been discussing so far. So plus I'm going to be away for some time. So Bhante Sumedhi is the one who's going to cover the rest. So I think that it's good to then discuss what we've been discussing so far. Okay, so spring break is coming up, right? When is the spring break? Did it pass or is it coming up, right? Around
I think it's next week on the
next
Yeah.
week.
Yes.
What are you gonna do for the spring break? Ovini?
Just like kind of rest and stay home.
Okay. Is that the Easter thing? I don't think so.
It's
no.
March break, I'm pretty sure.
Varsha, how about you? Any plans for the spring break?
I think I'll be going to my grandparents' house.
Is it in the city or outside the city?
It's outside the city.
Oh, which part of the Ontario province is that?
They live in America.
Oh, you're going to the US. Oh,
Mhm.
great. Are you going to drive or going to take a flight?
Drive. It'll only take like 1 hour, 2 hours.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
New York City or?
It's a pretty small area that's next to America, so it's pretty easy to go there.
Oh, great. That's a good plan. How about Sept?
No plans on the room.
No plans. No plans is the best plan.
Yeah, just stay at home.
Like no deal is the best deal.
Yeah.
How about Tarusha?
No plans.
No
Just
plans?
Stay home.
You had the same thought. No plan is the best plan. We'll see. Something will come up. Okay, so today we will be discussing about the perfection. Can somebody guess the last paramita, perfection, the name? Yeah, how we do?
I think it's Upekkha.
Upekkha. Okay, that is Upekkha. Let me type it on the chat. Upekkha. Can you see that? So Upekkha. Now, actually, in Pali, we have to sometimes use, actually, always use diacritical marks because Pali you have to sometimes shorten, sometimes you have to lengthen the letters. Let's say Upekkha, long A, Upekkha. It's very interesting, like not like in Sinhala. Now, I mean, there are words like in Sinhala we call Taraka, right? Taraka, but they just write it Taraka, right? But what about Taraka? They have the same spellings, right? That's pretty confusing, right? But in Pali, it is said that you have to use the diacritical marks. So say Taraka long a ta, areke a a, Taraka. So you have to use the diacritical marks. So in here, Upekkhā, H long a, right? Dana, D, A, long A, Dana. It's like that. Anyway, so Upekkha. Upekkha simply means balance, I would say equanimity. Somebody can translate this to be equipoise, but I think it's basically the balance, and we can discuss more about this balance. What kind of balance is that in the Buddhist teachings, especially with the paramita? Now, as you can see, like at the end of the different paramitas, perfections that a bodhisattva or a Pacceka Buddha aspirant or an Arahanta aspirant supposed to fulfill, finally they have to catch up with Upekkha. Why is it Upekkha balance? Because like when you know what you are supposed to do, supposed to practice, but if you don't know the balance, would that be a good thing? Let's say you know what to do. Let's say you have a plan. You want to be an engineer, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, professor, XYZ. But examination, you have to take these tests, you have to follow these whatever the things. But if you, after figuring out what you are supposed to do, then you should have a balance, right? Otherwise you will get stuck, right? Because you might be running out of your patience, energy, right? Because balance is very important, especially like somebody like you who is studying and then doing extracurricular activities at home, right? You have to have a balance, leisure time, spare time, free time. You need that. If you are too much with studies, if you are too much with sports, games and all that, that's going to be a problem. Always we have to find the balance. Balance is very important. The Buddha said somebody who is going to attain Nibbana, as given in the Buddhist teachings, must have balance. Otherwise, he or she will not attain Nibbana. Never ever. So even before attaining Nibbana, one has to keep the practice in moderation. Balance. Do we have another very famous word for balance in Buddhist teachings? There is actually. You want to take an educated guess about it? Balance. Let's talk about the Buddha's life in general. How did he become Buddha? And there is a word for that, if you can be a little bit curious about it. When did Prince Siddhartha leave the house? In which age? Okay, I can ask when because far away, but in which age did he leave the house? Palace?
I think 16.
16? Is it so?
Hmm.
When did he marry then? I think he married underage, I guess, That's not a good thing, right? If he left when he was 16 years old, I mean, then he should have married like way before he's 16. It's going to be an underage marriage. So I think he married when he was 16, right? That's acceptable. Then he left the house after. Yeah, Varsha? It's pretty confusing. Pretty confusing.
I read a book about the Buddha, and I think he left the palace at around in his 20s, so maybe 28, something like that.
28. Left the house, palace. Yeah, you're actually almost there. Almost there. Now let's talk about his time. He was married to Yashodhara when he was 16, and he was spending, I guess, 13 years of marriage. I didn't get a child, got a child when he was 29. And that was the time he left the house, the palace, 29. And then he spent 6 years of those ascetic practices, so 35. And then he became the Buddha when he was 35. Right? Is that correct? And then he spent 45 years after that. So 45 years plus 35, 80. So he passed away when he was 80. So when he left the palace, when he was 29 years old, he was met with 5 friends. We call them 5 ascetics. They showed a very rigorous path. You can't attain the Buddhahood without practicing very rigorous self-modifying practices like not eating. You have to You have to fast all the way, right, for many years, and then you can't give happiness to your body. Did he practice that? Did he practice those rigorous, very self-modifying, torturing practices as it was said by the 5 ascetics, Panchavagya Bhikkhu? He did. I think it's a waste of time. 6 years, that's a long time. 6 years, especially for a Buddha. He didn't understand, that he has to quit that and then to practice. Okay, this is the word I'm not going to say to you now, that particular thing, but he couldn't feel that. So he spent 6 years with those practices. And then it is said that when he touches his stomach, or the belly, he could touch the back of his body. It was that thin. It was very thin. And some of the devas were confused that the Buddha passed away. And some of the devas went to see the Suddhodana, King Suddhodana, and said that your son passed away. And King Suddhodana said, no, he wouldn't pass away, without becoming Buddha. Anyways, so those 6 years he spent. And then he found out giving pain to the body will not take me to the Buddha. That's very important. Now, there are people in today's world, they think that I have to work so hard, study hard, so hard, do work so hard. That's how I'm going to make my money. I'm going to make my future. But the Buddha finally found out, no, it's by being smart you can actually make a successful future. Be smart. In the past, people thought it's only by being hard people make money. If you can take a look, all these successful people in modern day life, you can figure out that most of them, there are people who have been very much hard and then become successful. Most of, especially in today's digital world, and people have been successful by being smart. They're doing the same job, but they are thinking differently, thinking innovatively, thinking differently. This is very important. We have to expand our thinking patterns, thinking perspective. Buddhism is one of that. So anyways, and ascetic Siddhartha found out giving pain to the body will not take me to Nibbana, Buddhahood. And also the opposite of that thing also will not take me to Buddhahood. Giving so much happiness to body, not happiness, I would say, giving so much comfort, too much eating, too much pleasure will not also take me either. Then he found out something in the middle. What is it called? The middle path. Are you familiar with this word? Middle path, Majjhima Patipada. This is balance. This is what I'm trying to aim at. Balance. We call it, in other words, the noble eightfold path, eightfold noble path, whatever. The noble eightfold path. That is Majjhima Patipada, the path that is in the middle, neither torturing nor self-indulging. That should be the path. So this is Upekkha, the highest level of Upekkha. Even attaining the Buddhahood, Nibbana, you need that. Also, in practicing to become a Buddha or Pacceka Buddha or Arhat, you need that. Got a sense of what it is all about? What Upekkhā means? Any other thoughts that you might have given earlier? Varsha, any thoughts about this Upekkha with this background knowledge?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How did the Buddha figure out for sure that it was balance that he needed? Because I feel like without anybody saying it, it would have been a pretty hard thing to kind of understand at first. He must have gone over the top. Buddha must have gone over the top, or he can't go under that either. It's like a middle path. So how exactly did the Buddha figure that out?
To answer that question, it is pretty clear, like even in our life, let's take like a secular purpose in our life. Let's say you study and then you involve in other things too. And sometimes you feel that I'm over the top. I'm I'm the opposite, right? So you kind of feel that I'm not in the middle. I'm not in I would say moderation, food, other subjects. So we know by ourselves that we are uh, actually. I mean, it's a personal conviction. It's a very individualistic. I would say talent to figure out that. Especially, I'm trying to say that in our secular life, we sometimes feel that we are doing something too much or too less. So it is a kind of a conviction, kind of a personal trust about our path or our particular action. Let's say somebody can say, on a particular day, oh, today I have eaten too much. How does that person come to that point? So she's comparing with other days. Probably she does not eat that much on another day, right? And probably somebody can feel that I overslept, or I slept too much today. So it's kind of a personal thing, and the amount of the hours, I would say, the sleeping hours of somebody and somebody else could be different, but one knows by oneself a kind of a balance. It might not be the balance we talk about with Upekkha, but there are some elements of balance even in normal people's lives. I mean, makes sense there? So when it is gone to somebody like very spiritual, like the Bodhisattva or the Buddha, especially Bodhisattva time and then the Buddha time, they have their own, I would say, ways of figuring out that this is too much, this is too less, and I had to be in the middle. So they decide on that particular trust that they are having. Otherwise, they are so yardstick. Okay, this is the amount that I should not do. This is the amount I should, because each bodhisattva is different. Each Buddha also is different, but their knowledge is equal. It's kind of a personal, recognition of, the levels of their path. I mean, we can get a sense of what it is with our personal life, secular life, studies, work, eating habits, sleeping habits. Because at the end of the day, we might think, oh, I wasted my day by doing this too much, right? We all have our own ways of figuring out the balance. Others, Upekkha. Pavini, what are your thoughts about Upekkha?
Well, I really understand that it's like you always have to be in the middle. And like, yeah, I guess I don't really have anything to say about it.
But it is not that easy to be in the middle all the time. Sometimes we are asked not to be in the middle. Take a side, right? Let's say now there's a party. Somebody says, I don't want to eat too much dessert, right? Good example. But you are actually pestered by other, you know what, today we're gonna eat couple cups of dessert, right? Varsha? Can that happen? And you are motivated by a bunch of friends, we gotta do this today. Couple of pizzas and couple of chocolates, couple of whatever dessert. But you may be somebody who is really keeping up with your weight, your health, food and all that. But that day you have to sort of get spoiled in a way, I don't know how you're gonna, it's a good question, right?
Yeah, it's like sometimes like you might like even as like a friend, like a lot of people they try to be liked by a lot of like friends, like you want everyone in your class to like you as a friend, you know what I mean? And it's like you try to be in the middle, but it's kind of hard to do that because you want to be like the cool person or whatever. That's a problem for a lot of people, I feel.
That's a very good point. Seth, do you have any thoughts? Let's say you are somebody who is really in moderation, you keep up with your balance, but there are occasions in our life, especially in your life, so you can't help not turning down, rejecting, denying what's going on. So how do you cope up with this? Do you just get spoiled by them? Do you think that you have a different way to cope up with this? Like a party or big event? Seth, can you hear me? Yeah.
My
How do you-
audio cut out for a second. My audio cut out for a second, Handra. What did you say?
Okay, so we've been talking about balance, like
Yeah.
moderation, right? So although we've been keeping up with our own moderation, like say being in the middle, I would say moderation in everything. But there are certain events, probably more events coming up in our family circles, like so societal, social levels, where we are being spoiled by others. We are being motivated by people. I mean, in the context of that particular setup. So they say you're gonna drink, you're gonna eat, like things that you are really keeping up with that you are not supposed to eat, drink, and all that. So how do you cope up that kind of situation with this balance concept? I mean, how do you keep up with your what do you call moderation thing?
Well,
It's
I
not a
think,
question only for you. I mean, question to everybody.
yeah, it's like the way I see it, it's like it's supposed to be moderation for your body, not like moderation in what you eat. Like, obviously, something like smoking is bad, so you shouldn't, there isn't really such a thing as smoking in moderation since it isn't good for your body. But like, just eating, eating some like less than eating some unhealthy food sometimes is okay. Like you have to do like eat sometimes, like if they ask you to eat or ask you to drink something, you can do it sometimes, but also don't do it in excess. Like you have to try to figure out what's good for your body. And although you can like be spoiled sometimes, you shouldn't do that all the time because then that's going out of moderation.
Okay, I have this way of thinking. What if you have like bunch of events coming up, two parties, three parties, social events, and family gatherings? Like, there are events that can come up at any time. I mean,
Yeah.
just forget about the COVID situation. So if that happens, how do you, we have the family mentality, friends
Yeah.
mentality, and probably you might be, uh, you know. You can't deny what your mom and dad say sometimes I don't know, I mean the cultural
Yeah.
sensitive stuff, right? But you are somebody who is really into moderation and kind of stuff. So how do we keep up with our moderation thing? If you are really, do you think that saying that a big no to this particular thing is a good idea, or walk away, or probably you're going to tell them earlier that I'm not into this thing? How would you keep up with that thing? Oh,
The
you
way
just yourself.
okay, yeah, it would be different for everyone for this, but the way that I would try to do it is like say I have, like you said, have a bunch of events going up and they're all would want me to like eat or drink or something. The way I would do it would be not to like eat or drink as much. Like when I'm there, like I'll still eat and drink at all the places, but like small amounts so I don't eat in excess like over a few days.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Tabasha, how would you cope up with this thing? Moderation in the event of spoiling events, spoiling, pestering, spoiling events that you can't really help not rejecting.
I don't really know how to manage it.
Give me a second. I could actually turn up the volume. What did you say?
I don't really know how I would manage it.
Oh, you haven't encountered such a situation so far?
No.
Has anybody pestered you? Hey, you're gonna eat more than what you think? Some people, they cook a lot of food, say, we can't waste the food. We gotta eat all that. There's a lot of rice in the rice cooker. But the person who cooked that didn't understand how much food is gonna be consumed by the people in the house, saying that we can't waste the food. Yeah, Ovini?
So back to the example of like you have like a bunch of parties at the like let's say you have like a bunch of parties in the same week. I feel like even for like going to parties, you should have a balance for that because you shouldn't go to too much parties at once. You should keep that as a balance too.
Okay, so planning in advance about how many parties I'm gonna be. But what if all they are family gatherings, family kind of invited things, so you can't help not saying no. Your family is going with you. How would you keep up with that?
Well, then I
Yeah.
guess it would go back to what Seth Ayya said, and like just keep everything in balance, and like you should like eat or like eat, but not too much and not too little.
At the same time, we're trying to help other people understand we have to respect what others can eat or not, right? If we have a lot of food issues like food allergies, right? And yeah, how we do?
Harminder, I have a quick question about the paramita itself. So basically, because there's like three different types of the paramitas, like the paramatta paramita was the final one.
Yeah.
Because the paramatta paramita is like you'll do it even for your life.
Yeah.
How would that work for upekkhā? Because upekkhā is like not killing yourself and not like being super like indulgent. So if you're not going to the extreme end and like killing yourself, then how would you like do it all the way with your life with the paramita?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Where are we going to practice Upekkha? We have to practice Upekkha with the rest of the paramitas. You are generous, you are moral, and then you are having what you call intentions of renunciation, dana sila nekkhamma, kanti satcha, you are having patience, you are practicing truthfulness, kanti satcha maditta, you are having resolution, aspiration, and then you are practicing loving kindness, you are practicing what do you call in today's topic, what do you call Upekkha. So Upekkha culminates the previous practices, not too much, not too less, because there may be people who practice dana too much, but sila too less. So we should have a balance with all that. So that is what it is said here, So always have a balance, right? And I think I discussed with you about killing thing in Buddhism. We are not too extreme about killing, right? Because in Buddhism, Buddhism does not say people have to be vegetarians, right? And at the same time, Buddhism does not say that you can't walk without sweeping the floor. But in Jainism, they say you have to first clean the place before you. Is it possible? Is it an easy thing to do? When you walk outside, when you drive, if you don't know there are creatures, that's why. So that is kind of a moderation. But if somebody says, considering taking the precept of killing, not killing, that this is something that I have to first clean and then to walk, right? So that would be a little bit over Upekkha level, right? So Upekkha simply means that you are practicing every virtue in moderation, right? But unfortunately, our people, a lot of followers, especially because of the culturally, imposed thoughts, they practice most of the virtues without moderation. Is it correct? Have you noticed that? They pick out one virtue and then they only practice that, right? Is it like somebody is to say that there is one particular food that is going to be very healthy, right? And that person ever since going to eat only that particular food, and then he or she is getting another sickness with overeating that particular food. Have you noticed such people? If somebody says, you know what, this herbal thing is going to work for you, and then that person stops all the other things and only eat that particular herbal thing, and then gonna get sick with that thing. And there is no treatment for that particular thing, because normally in medicine, there are medications for the sicknesses. Are there medications for the medications? Little bit difficult, right? Now you got a sickness because you've been following a certain medication. That's why the Buddha says, do everything in moderation, especially your virtues here from dana to here metta. So Upekkha is is what we understand by balancing out. You've got to balance out. So the upekkhā-pāramī means you balance out your life. Now, on another note, we understand what are these, what are the main components of Upekkha. There are 8 personal events where we have to practice Upekkha. We call them Attaloka Dhamma, 8 vicissitudes. Labha, alabha, ayasa, yasa, ninda, prasamsa, sukha, dukkha. Labha means sometimes we have losses. Not even you may be a businessman or not, woman or not, but we may have losses. Labha means the losses, and labha means profits. We may have profits too. We may have sort of income or not income, right? Depending on the situation. Yasa, ayasa means we may be complimented by other people at certain point, and we may be criticized by other people at different points. But unfortunately, a lot of people only expect the compliments. If you are somebody who is always thoughtful about, okay, I'm okay if somebody is to compliment me, also criticizes me, but constructively. I like criticism that comes from constructive channels, not like you are a bad person. You gotta tell me why I'm bad, why I'm wrong, That criticism is good because we can grow with that, right? We can fix that. But if there are some people who don't accept the both, only accept one, then it's a problem. Then happiness, unhappiness, right? So there are 8 things that usually upset people, right? Are people getting upset with these 8 on a daily basis? You hear a news, okay, you failed the examination. Are you happy with that? During the day, you are so unhappy because attached to that are a lot of problems. Your parents are going to talk to you about it, and then other things, your time and everything is going to be a mess, right? And what if that you're going to lose some money over something like a scam, right? A lot of scammers calling every day, right? Giving your identification and all that. Not happy about it. All the time, these upsetting things can happen. So upekkhā-pāramī simply means that you are balancing out. You are not wavered with these 8 things, basically 8 things and pretty much everything. You are in balance. Okay. And upekkhā-pāramī means that even you're gonna lose your bodily parts, don't try to do that because it's up to a Pacceka Buddha. Even risking the bodily organs, somebody's going to practice Upekkha. Like we sometimes give up the challenge, right? There are levels of giving up, right? You are trying to be in balance, but sometimes there are things that you can keep up with. Then you might give up. But the Pacceka Bodhisattvas, I mean, those ones who are going to be Pacceka Buddha, they will never give up. So they're going to practice give up based on the bodily organs, called upekkhā-pāramī. Then upekkhā-pāramī means there are bodhisattvas who are going to be, for the full Buddha, they even risk their physical body, whole life to practice the balance. They don't care anything. They are pretty balanced. They are not shaken by anything, like a rock. Can the wind shake the rock? It won't happen. They are pretty, what do you call, unshaken. When somebody passes away, we know who can just stay calm. Always go back to your memories with that person, right? Right. I mean, we are always shaken by that. And when you hear something good about one of your friends that's passed the examination, probably one of your siblings, your father, mother, you're so elated on that, happy, right? It is okay to be happy, but not too much, because we have to understand the opposite also can come anytime, right? That mindset has to be there, always have to have a balance. So that is called upekkhā-pāramī. Okay, given the time now, so I wanted to sort of summarize this Upekkha. Upekkha simply means equanimity. So we need to practice equanimity all the time, because that is the culminating, final, the most important virtue, because if you don't practice Upekkha, you won't be able to practice any other, the previous 9 perfections. Because it's like this, you, I would say, study maths, sciences and all that. But if you don't have this balance, then you will only, you will overdo only one subject. You have to study all the subjects well. This balance is very important. Not even the, going beyond the studies. What about the sports? What about your physical fitness? We have to also practice something for the physical fitness. Buddha always said that health is both mental and physical. Now, a lot of people, they are physically healthy in today's world. They eat well, they sleep well. But what about the mental health? Every day they are struggling. They are struggling with the news. They are struggling with emotions, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the other, the previous 9. So as I said to you, Dana, Sila, Nekkhamma, Kanti, Satcha, Aditthana, Metta. It is 9. So all these virtues, I would say perfections in this context, have to be practiced by Arahants, Pacceka Buddhas, and Sammasambuddhas. So Arahants practice only the first part. So it's going to be only 10. And Pacceka Buddhas, they have to practice 20. That means the first 2, Parami, Upekkhā-pāramī. And Sammasambuddhas, full Buddhas, they have to practice every part of the perfect 30, right? So the idea of why we be doing this for Dhamma school is that you now understand, in order to become a full Buddha, Sammasambuddha, one must fulfill 30 perfections. Each virtue, Dana means generosity, Sila means morality, Nekkhamma means renunciation, Dana, Sila, Nekkhamma, and then Panya means wisdom, Virya means energy, Kanti means tolerance, I would say patience, Satcha means truthfulness, Aditthana means aspiration or resolution, Metta means loving kindness, today Upekkha, Equanimity. So in order to become a full Buddha, that means you are a Bodhisattva now, then you must practice these 10 in 3 ways. The first part is just the material way. Second one is of risking your bodily organs. Third one is risking your life. So because you are still studying, I wouldn't recommend you to think about the second, third as a practice, but the first one is the first part of these perfections are very important. But for serious bodhisattvas, they are really practicing all these. Any questions? Okay, so if there are no questions, so I'm going to turn this to Bhante Sumedha, but we'll take a break, probably 3 minutes of break, and he will be here around 3:15. Okay, let's see you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Hamdurni.